Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we are going to be getting a brand new Clementine coming to the game. She is going to be called Tenacious Clem and she is going to be available on the advanced token wheel. Now we've had plenty of Clementines in the game before. I believe the timing of this Clementine might be basically within season 3, because you can see the badge on her art on the left hand side is part of the group that she was in, and this is before she would have met Javi, basically, is my kind of theory behind this. But if anyone else has any theories, let me know in the comments down below. On the right hand side we can see in a bit more detail she's fully geared up. She's got the backpack on. She's got the obviously the iconic hat. She's got a very interesting jacket on. I've not seen this jacket before, but like I said, it has got the logo of the group that she was part of on the left hand side. We can see she's kind of sneaky mode behind the bush. There's a lot of walkers around apparently, and she's got a nice looking pistol. It looks quite a lot like Rick's pistol, but it isn't Rick's pistol. It might be called a Python, but I don't think it's going to be called a Python. She doesn't have an attached weapon though, as you can see. So this weapon should probably get released at a later date. We'll look at her stats though. At level 1600 limit break 3, she has got 53,961 attack, 18,607 defense, 20,467 HP. She is of course going to be an alert character. She's going to be in the control role, go Mythic of course, and she's going to be joining the Telltale Allegiance. Now the first part of Clem's kit that we're going to check out is the Adrenaline Rush, and it is called Out of Misery, and it is a 55 AP cost rush, so pretty fast for what should be an attack team character. She has got very high attack stats, deal 1000% damage plus 250% for each negative effect on the target to an enemy, daze and impair all adjacent enemies for 2 turns. This does mean you can do this to a leader and daze and impair the entire team, other than the leader obviously, but you're doing a lot of damage to the leader. This is actually pretty crazy. It is a deal damage. She is just a control role, so less likely to be usable against Regina defense teams, but pretty good heavy nuclear option against pretty much anyone else. You could take her in against those teams though if you so wish. It depends on how much you value specialist skills on your teams or not. But the control here is actually immense. Even if she doesn't take down that character with the 1000% damage, which will scale higher and higher depending on how many negative effects are on that character already. So for instance, if there's 3 negative effects, it's going to be 1750% damage. And then all adjacent characters, which would be the other 4 characters in the top row and the bottom row, the 2 characters in each, would get dazed and impaired, meaning they can't use their signature moves and they can't use their adrenaline rushes. Pretty amazing. Let's just quickly check it out. So here we are on the attack team, and as you can see, we have got the leader character against us with a negative status effect. So this should be a 1250% deal damage. We'll deal the damage, and then you can see all adjacent characters have been impaired and dazed. This does mean, you know, for instance, someone like Eris, if I was to take her out right now, she would not gain AP, even though she goes into the Outlast state and would normally gain AP, because she's pre-impaired and that blocks her AP gain. It could work very nice against Outlast characters. Also, obviously, just good against anybody because they can't use their signature moves, which are generally quite powerful on defense team characters. Jumping straight into the upgrades, you can see at grade 3, Clementine gets an upgrade where she gets 250% damage for each negative effect on the target. This is only 1 copy required, so pretty easy. At grade 5, 2 copies, you get an upgrade where it dazes all adjacent enemies for 2 turns, and this is regardless of whether you take down the enemy or not. And then at limit break 2, she gets an upgrade where it impairs all the adjacent enemies for 2 turns. So initially it isn't doing anything other than the damage, then it daze, then the impair. Obviously, the daze actually is the better of the 2 controls, just because signature moves will go off, generally speaking, earlier than adrenaline rushes. And obviously, stopping a character from doing a signature move from a defense team's perspective is very bad. You know, defense team, generally their signature moves are where a lot of their power is, and this is going to stop a lot of that. I do think there are quite a few cleansers on defense teams, and obviously there are teams like the Telltale defense team, which have inbuilt resistances to all debilitating status effects, so there is going to be a little bit of counters out there, but this is very powerful otherwise, and Dazed and Impair are ones that you can't really cheese too much with combat mods, so that's actually really good. You could only do attack while impaired, which isn't going to be too great on defense team characters, to be honest. So the Adrenaline Rush is quite good. It's quite, cheap to do. 55 AP is quite fast. Doing this turn 1 could be extremely important. You would need some AP gain characters out there, and there is a character that you can use. For instance, the Jesus. If you had Jesus and Clem in a team, defending with Jesus gives 50% AP to a character who is a Telltale character. So you could potentially get Clementine to rush turn 1 if you can somehow get her to gain 50% of her AP otherwise and be the highest AP character. Actually, she doesn't need to be the highest AP character. She just has to be the only other Telltale character. So as long as she's gaining, 28 AP from other sources, like a 20% AP weapon to herself and like some 8% weapons, she would get a guaranteed turn 1 rush with a Jesus defend, or you could obviously go with someone like Laura, Wayland. There are quite a few options out there for you. So yeah, very nice Adrenaline Rush, lots of control. The damage is okay, but deal damage primarily you'd want to use against Regina teams, and because of her control role, that isn't going to be as effective. But it's up to you whether you want to get some of your characters normalized. Like I said, it depends how you want to kind of roll with things. But the control itself alone is very, very powerful for sure. I like this Adrenaline Rush a lot. I always like control, and on someone that can do damage at the same time, very nice. Now the next part of Tenacious Clem's kit that we're going to look at is going to be the signature move, and it is called All or Nothing. It has got an initial cooldown of turn 1, cooldown of 1 turn, number of uses unlimited, normalize a line of enemies for 2 turns, deal 600% damage, but plus 200% for each living enemy to the primary target. This fighter gets 10% halo for 1 turn. All other teammates get 100% AP. This is an insane signature move. The normalize comes in first, and then obviously off of turn 1, this would be a guaranteed 1,600% damage to a single target. That is crazy because there's always going to be 5 living enemies off of turn 1, and then it's to the primary target is just going to be the damage. It is a line in normalized, but it's a primary target damage dealt, or deal damage, as I say. So no crit potential, but huge amounts of damage potential off of turn 1. She does get a 10% halo, and I think that plays into other parts of her kit, namely her specialist skill, which we will look at later. But the all other teammates getting 100% AP is incredible, and her team up with someone like the recently released Axel, who does need to get AP quickly and often, could be really, really, really good. You could even get someone to do their rush first turn with some other AP manipulation, make their AP go down to 0, then use Clementine's signature move, and then the next turn they'd have their rush again. There's probably some really nice stuff that you could potentially do here, but regardless, you can make 4 characters guaranteed Adrenaline Rush off of turn 1 with Clementine in the team. Exhaust is your only problem here, so you've got to be aware of that potential. So here we are at the beginning of the fight, right off of turn 1, and what I'm going to do is I am going to use the signature move of Tenacious Clem. She's going to take out the leader, but also the rest of my team get their adrenaline rushes to be able to take their turns as well. Now I could have gone for another line. I could have gone for a line that potentially has, let's say, a specialist in it that I want to, get rid of. But I mainly see this as the actual AP gain being crazy. Obviously, normalizing is really, really powerful too. There are particular specialists that you would want to normalize. If they don't have any normalized resistance, really, really powerful. Certain Outlast characters, for instance, are really good to normalize. Halo 2 specialists as well. Really nice when it comes against those. But there are quite a few characters with normalized resistance. For instance, the Eris that I did just take out. But because I have got other characters in my team that do things like impair, as we have got Herschel here, she has not got her adrenaline rush because of the team up. So there's quite nice synergy between a couple of these characters for sure. So very nice on this passive in my opinion. Definitely the highlight of the kit so far. I think the adrenaline rush is good, but this is absolutely crazy. We'll look at the upgrades though. At grade 2 it gets an upgrade where this fighter gets 10% halo for 1 turn. This does mean if she gets dogpiled the next turn by the enemy, she'll basically come back with 10% of her max HP, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it will be good based on how her kit works. At grade 4, it gets an upgrade where all other teammates get 100% AP. That's still only 1 copy, so even just 1 copy of Clementine could be good, but you might have to go up to 3 copies to get Limit Break 1, so you have a turn 1 as it goes to -1 to starting cooldown here. I say that isn't too bad. I would definitely try and get 3 copies of Clementine. Seems to be very worthwhile. Basically commands your entire team to Adrenaline Rush turn 1, but not lose a turn. Kind of crazy. Then in Limit Break 3, it gets an upgrade where you normalize a line of enemies for 2 turns. Normalize can't be understated how powerful it is, but Adrenaline Rushes are king, generally speaking, on attack teams. So the AP gain is massive. I see the normalize as more of a bonus because there isn't necessarily always the characters that you have to normalize. There are other ways to get past characters. You know, most enemies, specialist skills, do have ways to counter them other than normalizing them, except for like Halo 2. That's where it can become problematic, and I see, you know, using her against Halo 2 characters could be really, really good, just so they stay down and don't get picked up instantly from how their specialist skill works. But yeah, obviously this signature move is crazy powerful, and I would say you could team her up with XYZ, but you could team her up with anybody because they're just going to instantly get their Adrenaline Rush. So anyone who can have their Adrenaline Rush pop is instantly going to get it. Anyone who has their Adrenaline Rush pop turn 1, because there are some characters that instantly have their Adrenaline Rush when the fight starts, you could effectively rush with them, then do signature move of Tenacious Clem, and then either command rush them again, or you could wait for the next turn to get a natural rush again. So like really crazy potential with Clementine and the team she's on. Like I said before though, there is the obvious issue of exhaust. If there's any exhaust on a defense team, AP gain is horrible, and this is unnatural AP gain. You know, it's not like doing a signature move or a basic attack. This is skill-based AP gain, and this would one-shot the majority of attack team characters if there is any sort of exhaust on defense team characters. So definitely be aware of that. Otherwise, very, very high potential damage output for Tenacious Clem's teammates set up by this signature move. Going over Tenacious Clem's mythic abilities, these are her passive skills, of course. She is a control role character, so she will have precision. Enemy resistances are 40% lower against this fighter. She does do quite a lot of control, so this is actually pretty decent. The next one is called Run It Back. When this fighter is revived, they and all adjacent teammates get 200% attack for 3 turns. This is obviously very good as well. 200% attack boost, and she has the Halo, so she has the potential revive quite often. The next one is called Inspire Vengeance. When this fighter is taken out, all teammates recover from 2 negative effects and get 80% Halo for 2 turns. This is crazy. This isn't adjacent teammates either, it's just all teammates. And the full cleanse is really powerful. Let's say she's one of the only characters that isn't controlled. Everyone's stunned on your team. She could even be stunned, and she gets taken out. Those stuns could potentially all get cleansed, and then all of your team could potentially have a turn, which is obviously very powerful in that situation. And the last one is called Tenacious Teamwork. All teammates get 40% attack and max HP at the start of each wave. Taunt 3 enemies for 2 turns. This is mad. Absolutely crazy. Not trait based on the actual passive here. All teammates getting 40% attack is crazy, but also a max HP bonus as well. And then at the start of each wave, taunt 3 enemies for 2 turns. I'm going to be completely honest, just knowing what her specialist skill is and how her kit works, Clem could easily be used on a defense team, just like we saw with Herschel previously, where it's a bit cheesy on the control. She is low stat, but it doesn't really matter. She has potential to bring herself back. If you hide her behind a shield, she should be absolutely fine. And then when you do her signature move turn 1, everyone gets a rush on your defense team. Now, defense team adrenaline rushes aren't as good, but they're still pretty good. So it's very interesting indeed. The potential for a defense team usage is definitely there. Now, I know what you're thinking. Who cares if she is on a defense team? It doesn't make any difference. Clementine being on the defense team is problematic. As you can see, 3 of my characters are taunted right now. I've taken in someone who can counter this. I've taken in Herschel, who does bring focus, but you can put characters on your team that punish you for getting focus. So for instance, you could have like Rosie or other characters that remove focus every turn or every other turn. That isn't going to be a problem. And sure, she is a little weak. If I do my signature move against her, as you can see, she is taken out, But I did have Clementine as a leader, so she is going to come back because of the Halo. And as you can see, she's given everybody else, not just Telltale characters, Halo. Whereas before, it was just the Telltale characters who had Halo. And you can see everybody's now got their adrenaline rush. Now, you could also ignore her, but she's going to do her signature move. And her signature move gives everybody on the defense team 100% of their AP as well. So the potential for a defense team's rushing is very high. Obviously, she has to be targeted when on an attack team to get the, be taken out, for those takeout bonuses to come into play. But she does have taunts in her kit, and if you wanted, you could make it so that she didn't have any boosts. Now, she gives 40% HP as well. Just thinking about that on a defense team to everybody, it doesn't matter who you are. You're talking about characters that normally already have crazy amounts of HP, now going to have 40% extra. I think her viability on defense is definitely there, but also obviously on attack. Now, one thing I think some people might be interested in is what order the operations happen when it comes to the cleanse and the AP gain when taking her out on a defense team. I can tell you that the AP gain happens first, then the cleanse, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it. Basically, if I take her out now, the AP gain will happen, and then she'll cleanse the impair. The only character that will gain AP in this defense team should be Glenn, because he's the only character who has not been impaired. As you can see, Glenn does gain the AP. Everyone does get their impair cleansed, but only Glenn actually gets the AP because he was not initially impaired. It works very similar to Outlaw's characters, are actually identical, where the AP gain is going to come in first, then the cleanse when it comes for Eris, and so on and so forth. So let's check out the upgrades to see what kind of grade you would need to get her to actually get the best out of her kit here. You can see at grade 1, she gets the first half of Run It Back. When this fighter is revived, they and all adjacent teammates get 100% attack for 3 turns. At grade 2, she gets the first half of Precision. Enemy resistances are 20% lower against this fighter. At grade 3, she gets the second half of Run It Back. When this fighter is revived, they and all adjacent teammates get 100% attack for 3 turns. This stacks with the first one, making it 200% attack total. At grades 4 and 5, we have Inspire Vengeance coming in at grade 4. When this fighter dies, all teammates recover from 2 negative effects and get 40% Halo for 2 turns. This is worth noting on a defense team. If you wanted to target her, then her teammates are going to have those negative effects cleansed. And that would be things like the crosshairs that you would apply with Herschel, the impair that you would apply with Herschel. So yeah, very good potential with her on defense team for sure. At grade 5, she gets the first half of Tenacious Teamwork. All teammates get 20% attack and max HP. At the start of each wave, taunt 3 enemies for 2 turns. Moving on to the limit breaks, we can see at limit break 1, she gets the second half of Precision, making it 40% lower resistances against this fighter. At limit break 2, she gets the second half of Inspire Vengeance. When this fighter gets taken out, all teammates recover from 2 penalties and also get another 40% Halo for 2 turns, making it stack with the first, and it'll be 80% Halo total. Now, it isn't a chance to apply on the first one, it's just a lower form of Halo, so definitely the lower grade version of Tenacious Clem seems viable. Then in Limit Break 3, she gets the second half of Tenacious Teamwork. All teammates get 20% attack and max HP. At the start of each wave, taunt 3 enemies for 2 turns. Now, again, this isn't a percentage to apply, so if you only had this character to Limit Break 1, where you'd still get, most of her kit, turn 1 signature moves, so on and so forth, and obviously the specialist skill working, you would still get, some attack and HP boost. It's just improving the Halo off of Limit Break 2 and improving the stats off of Limit Break 3. The rest seem to be pretty much the same. Obviously, it would improve her stats, so I would say her stats are more about her viability on attack, because it doesn't matter if she's taken out on defense because of her specialist skill, and it doesn't matter if she is not taken out because she'll do her signature move and then give AP that way instead. So yeah, very, very powerful kit. Attack for sure, niche on defense, but I still think it'll be extremely viable indeed. Now, the last thing in Clementine's main kit that we're going to look at is going to be her specialist skill, and it is the first ever 3rd edition of her specialist skill, I believe, if anyone wants to correct me here. Retribution 3. When this fighter is defeated, all of the fighter's surviving teammates will immediately receive 100% of their max AP. This is how everybody was getting their adrenaline rush when she was taken out on turn 1, and this is why she is definitely viable on a defense team, because if you take her out, she gives AP. If you ignore her, she'll obviously use her signature move and then give everyone AP. The potential on her defense team usage is definitely there. The potential on attack is good. I think the specialist skill on attack is completely random, however, but you could purposefully, target a payback character with her adrenaline rush to get nuked. And if she's got Halo on her already, she'll get revived and get the bonuses come through that. That's a potential on an attack team for sure. I'd see this specialist skill being more viable as part of a defense team usage than an attack team usage, strangely enough. Now, Clementine does not have an attached weapon. She does deal damage, so if you wanted to do more damage, you just want to go with high attack and then maybe get bonuses on takedowns, so on and so forth. You might want to build more of a stat-based weapon, attack HP. She doesn't need AP on attack even, because her rush is so fast. And if you want to have a weapon for a defense and attack, it's obviously up to you. If you do want her to be taken out, you wouldn't want to use things like absolute defense and so on and so forth. But something like stun could be good, because then at least you control the character that hits her. But it obviously will not stop the damage being taken by Clem. It really depends on how you want to set up her team. So this was Tenacious Clem, and I didn't even mention the fact that she could be used on the Telltale map, and she'll be great there because she'll just give everyone their adrenaline rush straight away. Big characters like Carver, Javi, big damage dealers, even Kenny, who can do massive amounts of damage off of turn 1, will be so powerful. Easy team ups for that Telltale roadmap without a doubt. Really, really powerful character. Tenacious Clem is like probably the best Clementine that's been released, without a doubt. And it's about time. I think we did have a couple of good Clems, to be fair, but I think this is a really powerful one. It is a shame that she is a control role character. She will not really be usable against Regina teams as heavily, but everything else pretty much is going to be in a lot of trouble for sure. And this character, I think you could get away with only getting 3 copies rather than going for the full 5. If you didn't have as many pulls to do, I think 3 copies should be good enough. Let me know your thoughts though on Tenacious Clem in the comments down below. I want to thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.